Welcome to the Smarter Money Life podcast hosted by Andy Mattingly. Frequent guest on local TV news, regular segment on Indy Now TV, and a leader here at Forum Credit Union. Forum's mission is to help members lead their financial dreams, and in today's podcast, we're going to cover a topic that will help you improve your financial life. Are you in a relationship with a significant other and wedding plans are on the horizon? There are the vows you will make at your ceremony, and then there are the vows, spoken or unspoken, that you make about money. If you want to have a happy life together, these money vows probably should be spoken out loud. Hello, everyone. This is Andy Mattingly, and I'm back to share the financial vows you should all be agreeing to make with your significant other. Now, most couples will attest, money harmony is always important for relationship bliss. Now, this podcast isn't going to be about marriage counseling. This is about money counseling and how it impacts your marriage or your significant relationships, even if marriage isn't on the horizon, but you decide to start having joint financial decisions. So I'm going to share with you some of the vows that you need to make to each other if you want to have relationship bliss as far as it's concerned with money. So the very first one is to share all of your previous financial history. And we've talked a little bit about this before, but share any poor decisions like past charge-off judgments, bankruptcies, discuss the budgeting method, ask what financial habits that annoy each other, and then also talk about other little things, like just talk about money so you can get in this idea of how you're going to talk about money with each other. The next vow is to jointly determine financial strategies for important life events. And this isn't, if it's a wedding, then, there's some important decisions you need to have. Will you have a prenuptial agreement or not? And reasons for either decisions. Here's another good one. How much are you going to spend on the wedding and who's paying for it? That's important. And if you're going to have to borrow for your wedding, then how much debt is fine to have for your wedding? And a lot of that can come down to how many people are you going to invite? And people may not realize that a lot of times when you're starting to trim the invite list, it's not really about whether you like Uncle Joe or not. It's whether you can afford to have Uncle Joe and his 7 people that he's bringing with him. So those are things that you need to have a talk about because it is about money, even if you don't want to make it about money. The next is housing decisions. Do you want to start an apartment or a house? How do you want your living space furnished? Do you want to borrow or do you need all brand new from designer brand names? Another thing is if you are going to have kids, what type of house do you want to have? What type of schools do you want to send them to? Things like that are all important with housing decisions. And then when kids arrive, and you may think, why am I talking about this? I'm not having kids for 5 years. Well, you need to know, do you both want to maintain dual incomes? Do you want to have someone work part-time or not at all? Those are all vows that are important of how you're going to handle important financial strategies for life events. Now, another one, defining roles, responsibilities, and how you're going to communicate that. So who's going to pay reoccurring and one-time bills? Who's going to track progress on goals? Who's going to manage the month-to-month budget? Who's going to look for ways to save? Who's going to do the research on vacation options? How are you going to handle, financial stressful issues? Those are all things that you need to make sure that you're talking and vowing that you're going to do. And part of that comes with making sure that you have a priority for regular money talks, where you discuss decisions that are coming up or any problems that you see. You also should talk about, your long-term goals. And then you also probably need to have ad hoc discussions so that you can have joint decisions. And then the final vow is how are you going to develop short-term and long-term financial plans? So short-term plans are like how much you're going to pay for a car, a house, or vacations, things like that. Medium are things like, are you going to get a vacation home, type of college your kids to go to? And then the long-term plans are, when do you want to retire? When will you, start saving for these goals? Things like that. So it's really important that you put all of that together. Now, one of the things that we didn't talk about is how are you going to make decisions? Because it's very important that if you want to have financial harmony in your significant other relationship is that you have a 50-50 split on the decision-making progress, regardless of how much income either one brings in. Because if you don't do that, then one person has all the power and begins making all of the decisions. The other important point for financial harmony is that you also have a 50-50 split on the responsibilities. don't make it one person's responsibility to handle all of the financial matters, because that's not fair to that person. And especially if you're making half of you have decision making in it, but you're making them do all the work. No one wants to be responsible for all the money. Now, I'm going to give you kind of 10 ideas, little quick thoughts that if you can remember these points, you will be on your path for relationship harmony. So, money disagreements will happen. You have to know that. You're going to have disagreements. It's how you get through those that's important, and we've talked about how to do that. The next thing is compromise is essential. And you should never think about it that it's my way or their way. It's our way, and you find your path forward in that way, and that's why compromise is so important. Another thing is to remember that it's going to take you a little time to hit your stride as a couple when it comes to money matters. So you're going to have some disagreements, like I said, and you're going to make some decisions that aren't right, or you're going to feel like things, that like you don't really have a say in the decisions because you're trying to make the other person happy. So give it a little time. Here's one that's really important. Fun money should be part of every couple's money. You're together because you like to do things together, not just work and deal with money. So you should have things that you're going to do, and you should be saving to have fun. You also need to know when to talk about money. You don't want to talk about money when you're out on a romantic evening together. That's probably not the time to bring up about how you want to get the credit card paid off. So make sure you know when to talk about money. It's also important to understand that opposites can be financially successful together. And even to some point that it's maybe they're going to have the best life if they really are compromising, because you will move each other off of the opposite end to a place that's going to be really good in the middle. Now, it's also important to remember that a budget is a guide, but not the final decision. So you put a budget together, but when something comes up that's out of budget, you talk, and maybe that's when the budget gets changed. And I've already talked about these two, 50-50 split of power, 50-50 split of responsibility. Those two things are really important. And then finally, if you're always thinking of us and not of yourself, you're going to have that financial harmony you're looking for. And as I said at the beginning, and I'll say to wrap it up, financial harmony is so important for long-term relationship bliss. This has been another episode of the Smarter Money Life podcast powered by Forum Credit Union. Please leave your thoughts in the comments and be sure to look for our next episode wherever you get your podcast. Remember, now is a great time to make a difference in your financial life. Until next time.